All right, you will remember in class that we are looking for circumference of a circle today. So we were given the formula C for circumference equals pi d. And again, d represents the diameter or the entire distance across the circle that goes through the center point. The other formula that we were given for circumference is really the same formula if you truly understand its components. C equals 2 pi r. And so if I ask myself, what is 2 times r? Well, 2 times the radius is the diameter. So we're essentially solving the same problem in either formula. It's just sometimes we might want to use one or another depending on what information we're given in the original problem. So for example, problem number 1, we're given a radius, so it might make sense for me to go ahead and use the radius form of this circumference equation. C equals 2 times my radius of 15 times pi. 2 times 15 is 30 pi. So my exact solution, remember our exact solution is always going to include pi because pi is a non-terminating, non-repeating decimal that will just continue and continue and continue. So the only way to have an exact answer is to use the actual term pi. So my exact circumference would be C equals 30 pi. Now for the approximate circumference, we then plug in our estimated value our approximated value that we're using for pi, 3.14. So if I multiply 30 times 3.14, I would get an approximated value of 94.2 inches. So my circumference for this circle would be 94.2 inches. Well, let's look at number 4 together. Now number 4 gives me a problem in which I have the diameter. So it doesn't make sense for me to use the formula that includes the radius. I may as well use the formula that is C equals pi d because I'm already given the diameter. So my C would equal 23 pi. My exact circumference, well, that's exactly what it would be, 23 pi yards. And my approximate circumference, again, I'm going to estimate or approximate using the value 3.14 for pi, and I'm going to multiply that times 23. So my approximated circumference would be 72.2, rounding to the nearest tenth. Next problem. Lucinda is going to put a garden in her yard. She wants to put a fence along the garden to keep the rabbits out. She's considering whether to build a circular garden with a radius of 10, so it would make sense for me to draw a circular garden and remind myself that it has a radius of 10, or a square garden with an edge of 8 feet. Which garden would require less fence? Well, if we're talking about fence, we're talking about that distance around the shape, and so we're looking for the circumference of a circle and the perimeter of the square. So my circumference formula, C equals, let's go with 2 pi r because we're given a radius. So my C equals 2 times 10 times pi. And that would simplify to 20 pi. And I'm going to use my approximated value of 3.14 for pi and multiply that by 20. And so I know my circumference is approximately 62.8 feet. And now I need to figure out the area of a square. Well, the area of a square is length times width, and both sides are the same, so 8 times 8. Well, the area of the perimeter of the square, let me go back up to that because I don't need the area of a square. 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. So 8, 16, 24, 32. So which garden requires less fence? Well, the square does, because the square only requires 32 feet of fence.